Machakos gubernatorial aspirant Wavinya Ndeti. So joining me in studio now is Joy Brenda Mdivo. She is a lawyer and political analyst. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
What does this NASA rally mean for Wavinya Ndeti as a person?
She needs it because this is somebody who joined NASA in just like about the last 2 months or so. And before that, she was in another outfit. She was trying to do her thing. And we saw her coming in and cutting in front of Chala and getting the nomination for the Machakos Gubernatorial seat. So this would be her chance to sort of showcase, because Machakos has been treated to a lot of ramzetas, but from Governor Mutua. So this will be her chance to also showcase herself as being able to handle national leaders, to handle a rally of this stature. So I think this is a very good platform for her to demonstrate that she can actually be governor material, to demonstrate to people she is governor material.
And she can mobilize as many people as...
Exactly. And not just that, even looking forward to what is she going to say, how is she going to carry herself, how is the mood of the people who are there, how will they receive her. So this will be a very good ground for her to test whether or not she is really ready for this, whether or not she really stands a chance, because beating the power of incumbency needs something really special. This will be her chance to see if she has it.
Well, NASA is also trying to show that Machakos is not a swing county, like it has been said, but do you really think it is a swing county?
Most definitely is. If you look at the politics in Ukambani, it's been ebb and flow, ebb and flow. But in one place where the ebb has been really high and there's been not much of a flow is in Machakos, primarily because of the relationship of Governor Mutua with the Wiper leader, Kalonzo Musyoka. Very early in the day, we saw the schism just becoming wider and wider. It's gotten to a place where now that Mutua is his own man, we realize that when he was fielding candidates, he's fielded more candidates than even some established parties out there. And so it's gotten to a place where he has to, the NASA leaders will be trying to find a way to sort of dampen that mood in Machakos and try and bring back the sense of we have some control here. Maybe not all, but we have some control here. Because the larger Okambani is said to be a Wiper area. It's supposed to be one of the things, of the 10 million, this is Kalonzo Musyoka's contribution to the equation. But Machakos, of course, and quite a few areas that have Chap as the dominant party have been eating into those numbers. So this is a time to also try and woo back some of the people who may have gotten swept in the Chap wave.
Do you think it will work for NASA taking the battle right down to Machakos, where Chap has been making a lot of inroads, I must say?
You know, unlike NASA, Chap was a breath of fresh air. And Governor Mutua has, maybe it is PR, maybe it is what, I do not know, but driving through Machakos town, I mean, when I see the roads, when I see the lights, when you look at how well laid out the town looks, the breath of fresh air that is the people's park, Maendeleo Chap has shown the people, look, give us a chance and we can actually make your day-to-day life better than it used to be before. Now, somebody like Honorable Kalonzo has been a member of parliament and a minister and a vice president for years, 3 decades almost. And there are some places where, especially where he was MP, that have not seen as much development as what has been seen in Chap. So there is that gap that has to be filled, because Chap has a benefit of, they have a breath of fresh air and they have shown something for it.
So could they be grooming the next kingpin of Ukambani?
NASA is still coming with promises, and promises have been there ever since Kalonzo Musyoka was in Kanu. So for him to come with something new, I don't know what rabbit is pulling out of the hat, but for him to actually stem Governor Mutua is going to be a very tall order. But just following up with your question, when you look at the politics we have right now, you have what Jubilee has to offer. Chap is aligning themselves to Jubilee. Sometimes, I don't know, aligning yourself with somebody who's not primarily in your party may bring a problem with ideology. So does it mean you share the same ideology? If you do share the same ideology, why are you not really in Jubilee?
But is Kenyan politics, and especially party politics, is it really based on ideology in this country, or it's a re-election vehicle for about 80% of the people?
It cannot be ideology, because if it was truly ideology, we would not have over 4,000 independent candidates. Independent candidates who are still claiming to support Flani for the president and support Flani for the presidency. If you're truly an independent, you'd have been an independent from the get-go. But if you were in Jubilee and you tried to get a nomination and failed, and then now you're independent, surely there's no ideology there that you're using. It's survival for the fittest now. You're thinking I've been rigged out somehow.
Yeah.
And so in terms of ideology, we may not be too varied from each other. But one thing I think people are realizing is if you support a particular presidential candidate, then it enhances your chances of being able to get what you really, really want. So you're gunning for the governorship, but you support the presidency so that you can sort of boost those who don't know who to vote for, but they know who they're voting presidential, might just give you the vote because you are aligned to the person that they think is the next president.
Over the weekend, we saw Charity Ngilu for the first time
at a NASA rally.
Join the NASA entourage in Kakamega. And what does this mean for NASA now that Charity Ngilu has supposedly come back home?
Chickens are coming home to roost. Because, see, she's running on a NARC ticket. That takes you back to 2002, when they were trying to form the Rainbow Coalition, when they were trying to come up with a unified presidential candidate to run against the President Moi machinery. That time, the project was now President Uhuru Kenyatta. And at that time, Mama Rainbow was she was a larger-than-life figure. She had come in with SDP and Anyang' Nyong'o and Orengo and all this ideology, and she had shown herself as the breath of fresh air. I think she's trying to recapture that old and lost glory. And it's one of those things where you're trying to go back to people who you think can remind you of your glory days. Now, the problem with that is she's already been in bed with Jubilee. She was even actually cabinet secretary in the Jubilee government. So, I mean, you're already tainted. So, to speak, your damaged goods, the box has been opened. You're no longer a collectible. So, in this equation, I think she's getting more out of this relationship that she's bringing. Because who is NARC? Nobody remembers the Rainbow Coalition anymore, apart from those of us who are old enough. But nobody actually knows what the Rainbow Coalition is. And so you have a situation whereby Charity Ngilu is actually just looking for somewhere to hold on, something to ride on. Because she's big enough by herself to be able to run the gubernatorial race. But if you're looking, for example, for people to work with, people to collaborate with, she can't go back to Jubilee. She will not work with Chap because that's just too awkward. So it's not her coming back home. There's nowhere else to go at this point. She has to go back to NASA. But the good thing with NASA is that it's such an ambiguous outfit right now. Anybody can find somewhere to come in. Because unlike Jubilee that became a party and sort of set up structures and shut the doors, NASA is a coalition. Vugu. It's one of those places where if you just find a spot, if you find a niche, you can fix yourself and stay there. So that's what I interpreted with Charity Ngilu.
With Charity Ngilu.
Because if she is successful, she will need to have some collaborators. She might as well be allied with the people who are NASA gubernatorial.
So in essence, she needs NASA more than they need her.
Most definitely. Because if you're looking at the 10 million strong, what is she bringing? Kalonzo is already there with the comeback bag. So I don't see her bringing anything else. And then with the battles that she's fought recently with corruption and the fallout with Jubilee, she has been unable to sort of bring herself back up again. There was a debacle with the sad demise of the former Kitui mayor when they were almost being run down. So she's had a few mishaps, a few missteps that have made her politically almost irrelevant. So at this point in time, I think the wind is not beneath her wind. She's busy looking for somewhere to ride on. And definitely NASA are telling her, look, let bygones be bygones. You come here. Let's see what we can do with this set of affairs.
With all the political kingpins, I use it quite lightly. We have Kalonzo Musyoka from Ukambani. We have Charity Ngilu. We have Wavinya Ndeti.
And Kibudha.
And Kibudha Kibwana, all back to NASA. Is it them stamping their foot down that Ukambani is a locked NASA zone?
I don't think so. I think what happened was the realization, because forget about what just happened about 2 months ago when NASA finally declared the presidential candidate. Before that, there was still the willing dealing about, there was this MOU, there was this MOU, there was this MOU. Yeah. But now the MOU, of course, was undertaken when it was still CORD before it became NASA. And the Kambas were really, really convinced that this was going to be Kalonzo Musyoka's turn. And all of us, until the announcement was made, there was always that little bit of us that was thinking, maybe, just maybe, this time around somebody will honor an MOU. So I think it was on that strength that Kalonzo did a lot of work, and Mudhama and his other lieutenants, to sort of bring back all the Kamba leaders together under his leadership, so that in case he is a presidential candidate, to ensure that at least his base is locked. And I think that is the the hard work that is now paying off, that all these people have come home, quote unquote, and are all consolidated. And he talked about the days of division in Kamba politics are over. But there's the one renegade, Governor Mutua. There are a few others who have also decided to run a Jubilee. But by and large, the big people, quote unquote, like you said, the kingpins, have decided to come in together. That means that NASA stands a very good chance to have quite a substantial chunk of the voters in Ukambani fully supporting them and supporting their candidates. So it may not be locked down, but it is substantial. It's not something to sniff at.
So should Governor Mutua be a worried man?
Probably not for his own seat, but in terms of what he is bringing to the larger Jubilee equation, maybe not so much. Because there are people who will vote for Mutua as governor, but will not give Uhuru Kenyatta the presidential ticket. Because people are trying to revive that, let's do 6 pieces, let's do whatnot. But anyway, if a suit has 6 pieces, it's a monstrosity. It's not a fashion statement. So people are becoming more aware of the fact that, you know what, even if you break ranks, it does not mean that there's any catastrophe that will befall you. It just means that you're denying the politicians their wish. Yeah. And Kenyans are quite apt, and they're quite up to the task to vote for Governor Mutua and not give the presidential tally the corresponding vote, or to even just decide, you know what, let us just go with the NASA brigade and sort of make their day. So it's one of those things that it's still very much up in the air. But if I'm Governor Mutua right now, I would be working hard at my campaign, but the power of incumbency, the track record that he has as one of the better performing governors, and the fact that the NASA coalition is coming a little bit lately in the game, I don't think Governor Mutua, for governor, has anything to worry about. For the bigger Jubilee ticket, I don't think he has much to contribute to the bigger Jubilee ticket.
All right, let's talk about this red list that 106 people, about 11 governors, quickly, I understand we don't have too much time. And we are having a number of leaders say, no, the EACC has no power whatsoever to deny us a ticket based on 1 or 2 issues that are pegged on our name. What do you think about that?
And they don't, because we set precedent. When it was Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, who were ICC suspects, or not even suspects in Kenya, and they wanted to run, and somebody went to the courts and said, look, these two are facing legal challenges. They cannot be on the ticket. And they went to court, and they actually got a decision that says, according to the Constitution, until you have exhausted all possible means of appeals, tribunals, all doors are closed and exhausted, that is when you can be barred from running for office. Now, for me, that is witchcraft. As far as I'm concerned, that is really bad law. I don't know why we have set the moral standard higher than even criminal liability, because if it's criminal liability, at the first instance where you're convicted, you go to jail, and then now you keep working out your appeals when you're already serving sentence. In Kenya, for integrity matters, is even different. But be that as it may, there is precedent that says you must be convicted and all possible appeals must be exhausted before somebody can decide that you cannot run for office. If you look at that, what it means, therefore, if they could not bar them from getting the presidential ticket in 2013, they cannot bar them now. And therefore, everybody who's been mentioned adversely or otherwise, whether or not they're culpable or not, the law, the position is that they have a right to be on the ballot. Now, personally, I don't agree with that decision. It makes a lot of, it doesn't make any sense where a suspect should be able to run for office, because what happens is, with the power of being, when you're in office, even if somebody wants to investigate you, the way people behave in Kenya, mheshimiwa is almost you cannot touch. So it becomes difficult to actually prosecute those cases to the logical end. The way the cogs of justice move so slowly in Kenya, by the time you're finishing the investigations, somebody has served their term, they have finished.
Done.
It's over and done with, it's old news. It's almost like what we're doing with the Supreme Court judges. By the time the rulings were coming out, they'd already been bundled out, they're on their way home, and they even tell you, by this case now is overrun by events.
So this is a wild goose chase for the EACC. It
is, and for us as Kenyans, it's a realization that we put in Chapter 6 and said we want leaders of integrity, but we also put in Article 99 that gave them a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's one of the weaknesses we have in Kenyan law-making process. The people who make laws for themselves that would give them an advantage in case they found themselves in trouble. And when you make laws like that, you always have a safety valve, somewhere to release yourself. That's why EACC has never gotten the teeth to bite, because every time we set up the Kenya Anti-Corruption Authority, whatever we set up, there's always a law somewhere that somebody put somewhere so far that is always pulled out last minute. It's unconstitutional. It cannot be set up like this. The chairman has to be removed under dubious circumstances. And it's always successful because it is the law. Time has come for Kenyan legislators, and the Kenyan voters now have a chance to choose people who are selfless, who can say, look, this is bad law. This is law that cannot help us. What do we want to say? If we want to say we want leaders of integrity, do like South Korea. You are found culpable, you step aside, you defend your name. Once your name is clear, is when you can run again. Rather than the opposite. It doesn't make any sense.
We'll see how that turns out. Quite a long way for us, I must say. But we'll
but the 106 will all be on the ballot. That I can put good money on that.
All right. Brenda, thank you. Always a pleasure speaking to you. We wrap it up on that note. Joy Brenda Madivo is a lawyer and political analyst, just speaking to us about an array of issues, making conversation on the political landscape in this country. We wrap up News Desk on that note. Up next, Abia Gina comes in with Business Today. So